with fragment B on the left-hand side of the picture. So these are the two facsimiles replaced. On the left side now you can see the fragment B. So the text now becomes possible. Recepta Juvencli. Obviously, it's not the beginning of the text seems lost. The words Recepta Juvencli means the deceived, and now there's a missing noun, of a youth, a young man. Aurelii Vantionis Juvens, the young Aurelius Bantio. Qui innocuus vixit, annus viginti, dilectus, who for 20 years lived harmlessly and was beloved. Qui miserandus, this poor man, this poor youngster, a pessimam gentem perentus, killed by scoundrels, quietus dum restaret, as he stood inoffensively. And now there's an colophon. Neque gentis periuria or periura penam, neither the treachery of these people, neque flicta coniuns neque amici, nor his distressed wife and friends, quantum nefas videre parentes, ever saw that greater punishment as great is the wrong that his parents saw done to them. Details. The lost beginning of the inscription appears to have contained some conventional opening. It could have been unc titulum posui, or feci, or posuit, or fecit, mater decepta juvencli, or genetrix decepta juvencli. However, the mention of a dedicator, though possible, should not be considered necessary at this point, seeing that the dedicators do appear later in the text. On the other hand, the general picture of a young man killed by bandits emerges more clearly if we persist in taking decepta to refer to the deceased, in which case virtus decepta juvencli would be a possibility. Qui vixit annus viginti dilectus. 20 years of age, based on our previous assumption, is just about what we may expect for the deceased. And there is the predicative use of dilectus. This is well attested in Roman epitaphs. There's a parallel in one of the epigrams in Bucela in the CLE of a young woman, vixit dilecta marito. She lived beloved. She was beloved by pessimam gentem perentus. Lines 4, 5. The accusative after ab, instead of the ablative, is a well-attested feature of Vulgar Latin. But the occurrence of gens, in the sense of men, people, is noteworthy. Instances of such use are not very frequent before very late Latin, or we should rather say early medieval Latin. Perentus typically describes a sudden and violent death. Dum restaret in lines 4 to 5. the incident that led to the death of Aurelius Bentio initially may have resembled the typical encounter with street robbers, as described by Juvenal. Stat contra, starique jubet. He stands in front of you and tells you to freeze, with the victim seemingly trying to handle the situation with as much common sense as he could gather. Quietus is the key word. On the one hand, it means one who remains aside of the fight, not taking part in a violent conflict. On the other, quietus is the peaceful citizen, warmly praised and fundamentally helpless, as the species usually is. Lines 5 to 8, the final part of the inscription. We should take this together for the reasons which will become clear later. Neque gentis periura penam, neque flicta coniums, neque amici, quantum nefas videre parentes. Vulgar for periuria, treachery. It would then be a phonetic process, close to what became parete in Italian, from the Latin pariete. By the way, the word appears in an epitaph already in the ancient city of Rome, in a Latin epitaph in the form paretes, without the I, without the vulgar yod, which tended to disappear in such phonetic contexts. So periura may be periuria. An alternative explanation would be that gentis periura would have periura as an adjective and then gentis as a nominative singular, the treacherous kind, gens periura. That would be then a case of the so-called isosyllabism, which is a vulgar phenomenon, well known, but still unparalleled with this particular noun, with gens. This is where we have the anacoluthon, and the English translation I propose reflects that. This is a notable detail, and I shall try to draw some conclusion later on from this. Now, we have already seen that this inscription, IMS 4.39, contains fragments of verse. But now that I have proposed another reading, this list needs revision. The text, as we read it, exhibits three hexameter endings. The Cepta Juventli in line 1, Gentis periuria penam in line 6. In fact, this is more than an ending. This is the latter half of an hexameter. Gentis periuria penam. The same goes for nefas videre parentes in line 8. In line 5, peremptus may be another hexameter ending. Besides, further dactylic sequences are found in the words qui nocus vixit and qui miserandus. With scansion, I have not done that, so I shall repeat myself. The Cepta Juventli, gentis periuria penam, nefas videre parentes, parentus as it stands, quin nocus vixit, qui miserandus. Perhaps now it sounds more like pieces of lost hexameters. So, without being a proper Carmen in its present state, this inscription, this epitaph, certainly qualifies as a chromaticon. Fragments of verse that are characteristic of this type of inscription are principally due to the fact that many writers of funerary texts relied on expressions and phrases borrowed from both verse inscriptions and high poetry. This is why the presence of verse fragments in an epigraphic text does not prove that a verse inscription was intended. But in this case, there is something more. The analysis of the final section of IMS 4.39 led us to the assumption that there had been a version prior to what became the final text. Another similar clue is maybe found in line 1 to 2, where Juventli is immediately taken up by Aureli Vansionis Juvent. It looks as if the original impersonal expression, a youngster, was subsequently personalized by the addition of a phrase which had better been substituted for it, a young Aurelius Panthea. Instances of later intervention in the text. Together with the relatively many fragments of verse, shed a new light on IMS 4.39. To give an explanation of what I didn't explain enough, that is the second segment, which is critical to my explanation. One from line 5 to 8 here. So this anacolthal, what is there? Of those three final segments, neque gentis periura penam, neque ficta conius neque amici, quantum nefas videre parentes. Now, of those three final segments, the first and the last connect smoothly. You see, neque gentis periura penam, quantum nefas videre parentes. The treachery of these people never saw that greater punishment as great is the wrong that his parents saw done to them. The second segment, however, hardly fits into the sentence. Neque flicta coniuns neque amici. Neither those people's treachery ever saw that greater punishment, nor his distressed wife and friends, and then the following. So this, nor his distressed wife and friends, neque flicta coniuns neque amici, looks like the result of an afterthought, as if the text had originally been written on behalf of the sole parents of the deceased. It is only later that it was expanded to include a mention of his widowed wife and his friends. But even this was done sparingly, so that instead of recasting the sentence, a few words were burdened with too much to say. At any rate, it was insisted that neither the punishment of the perpetrators nor the painful experience of the victim's wife or friends could ever equal his parents' agony. And there is a zeugma on the word penam. The perpetrator's pena is their punishment, but the pena, the pena experienced by the survivors of the attack is the pain, the maltreatment they suffer. So this was the explanation I omitted when I referred to two different sections telling us that this may be a case of multiple redaction. One instance, Juvenctly at the beginning, and the other instance, the middle part of the final sentence. Those seem to be later intervention into the text, and they, together with relatively many fragments of verse, shed a new light on the inscription. If there was a text prior to the one we read, was it a Carmen? This question leads us to view the inscription as a possible, not a proven, but a possible case of a multiple redaction. However, even if we assume that the actual text was produced by this figuring an original Carmen, this would be the actual meaning of multiple redaction in this case. We cannot hope to restore this Carmen in any detail. It may have been restrained, as good funerary poetry often is. It may have produced a stylish picture of someone's brutality and someone's grief. But what the dedicators wanted instead was their own sad story told in a few words. And as they struggled their way from the impersonal to the intimate, the Carmen they were tampering with ended up shattered like a mirror. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Does anyone have a question?
Okay, I would like just to make a short comment. First of all, thank you, Vojin, for the wonderful lecture. We are gathered here in Skopje together with the students from archaeology and other institutes, and we listened to your lecture very carefully. It was very exciting. And my question would be, do you know of similar inscriptions with similar content in Serbia or elsewhere? Something with which we could compare this inscription.
Well, I couldn't mention now any precise location, but as far as the death by the hand of the ladrones, of the brigands, is concerned, yes, this even represents locus communis in the epitaphs. There is a class of epitaphs that gives details about the death sometimes even details, unpleasant details. This is not a particularly unpleasant case, and the latrones indeed appear in many epitaphs. So yes, the parallels are there, and well, I can give them easily, but this is not the occasion. Those are letters and numbers. So I can write them down and send them to anyone interested. Thank you for the question. And thank you for being there to listen to this lecture. It means a lot to us. And we have many other concerns these days. And it's a noble distraction to be here with you.
Anyone else has something to add or ask? If not,
I really have nothing to add to this exhaustive and interesting presentation. I just like to say thank you for the interesting lecture, and we were glad to participate in this event, inter alias res, that might be happening.
Thank you, Mikko.
thank you all for following. I think we can conclude this lecture and announce the next one, which will be held in Skopje. And stay tuned with Prometheus project and all our activities. So bye.
Okay, shall we subscribe ourselves to a list or something, as we discussed previously?
Yes, well, I think that everyone in Zoom is already recorded by the program, so there's no need for those who are logged into Zoom to subscribe. But if you had live audience, it would be perfect if you fill down some sheets of presence.
Okay, but I don't know how to count the people on my side that probably got involved in the online viewing. I don't know. Maybe
So
if you
anyone, only if someone is present in the room, that would be requirement for the online audience. It's done automatically. So
okay.
it should
Yes,
be
but
fine.
what about those who were on YouTube?
Yes, I was asking about
Yeah,
that.
well, we can only count the number of views. Or maybe we can politely ask them to like the videos, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
That should be the trick. So I think that would be it for today. Thank you all again. And
Well,
see you
thank
next
you.
time.
And
Bye.
good luck with everything that's coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mikko. We will need any luck we can get. All
Yeah.
the luck.
So
With you.
as
Okay.
we would say these days, open.